Shakespeare wrote, "What's past is prologue." But what's Prologue? It's new Japanese whiskey. Welcome to Kanpai Planet, I'm Mac, and today I'm taking a look at the first two single malts from the Shizuoka Distillery, Prologue K and Prologue W. The Shizuoka Distillery is located high in the mountains in the Tamagawa district of Okushizu in Shizuoka Prefecture, relatively close to Mount Fuji on the banks of the Nakakochi River and surrounded by forests, fresh water, with hot summer days and cold nights. It was founded in 2016 by Taiko Nakamura, and his journey to get there is fascinating. In 2000, he took over Chuo Seiko, a precision manufacturing company founded by his grandfather. He became increasingly worried that Japanese firms were losing their commercial advantage to Asian competition. So, in 2012, he founded Gaia Flow, a renewable energy business. However, the deregulation that he anticipated was postponed, so he took a holiday to Scotland to decompress in summer of that year. It was on this trip that the idea to create his own whiskey distillery was born. He visited 9 distilleries. He was most influenced and impressed by Kilchoman. With no alcohol industry experience, Nakamura-san visited over 170 producers. On the advice of Ichiro Akuto, the founder of the Chichibu distillery, Gaia Flow became the exclusive importer for Blackadder, expanding to other brands such as Aston Morris. But this was all just prologue for Nakamura-san's real goal, to build his own whiskey distillery. And build one he did, first setting eyes on its location in June 2014. Its design is pretty unique. Nakamura-san wanted something recognizable and something that fused nature and whiskey heritage, but not in the traditional Scottish style, and construction was completed in August 2016. A month later, the whiskey distillation license was granted and the first distillate was produced in October and casked in December. The Shizuoka Distillery has 3 pot stills and 1 hybrid still. They began with a wash still, formerly used at the iconic Karuizawa Distillery. 3 months later, they had 2 Forsyth, one allowing wood direct firing. They have 10 wooden washbacks, 4 made of Douglas fir, 6 made of Japanese cedar from Shizuoka. These are the first fermenters made in Japan. Nakamura-san was inspired by the traditional use of cedar in sake fermentation. These washbacks are made by the only traditional craftsmen left who know how to make them, Fuji Seokasho from Osaka. Gaia Flow are also admirable for their commitment to terroir and their desire to create true Japanese whiskey. Water comes from an on-site well fed by the underground Abe Nakagochi River. Currently, they use a combination of imported barley as well as local Japanese barley. Now, barley doesn't commonly grow in Shizuoka, but they've been working with local farmers to make it happen. Plus, the firewood and even the yeast are local. So, what did all of this incredible effort result in? Well, it brought us 5,000 bottles of Prologue K, which dropped on the 19th of December 2020. What's in a name? K is for Karuizawa. Shizuoka Distillery are calling this a single wash still whiskey because both the first and second distillations, the stripping run and the wash run, are performed on an ex-Karuizawa pot still which dates back from the 1950s. Nakamura-san bought it at auction in pretty poor nick, but it's been completely renovated and upgraded. Prior to the launch of Prologue K, the Shizuoka Distillery hadn't officially released any new pots or new makes or world whiskies or cask or blending experiments or gin. I say officially because you've been able to try some of their new make at whiskey festivals, at the distillery itself, and if you were part of their private cask and premium bottle selection programs. So there was huge excitement, hype, when Prologue K was released. It's non-chill filtered, natural colour, and bottled at 55.5% ABV, which is cask strength. And on that subject, this whiskey is a blend of 31 different first fill ex-bourbon casks, and all with 3 years and change whiskey. It's made with half imported malt and half Japan grown malt. I welcome this level of information about a whiskey, so thank you very much, Gaia Flow. In fact, Nakamura-san has been instrumental in helping us all navigate the inner workings of the new Japanese whiskey standards with a series of posts on the Gaia Flow blog. So I truly welcome that commitment to transparency. This 700ml bottle was a Japan-only release and it retailed at 8,943 yen, which is about $80 US. Okay, let's check it out. So the bottle comes in this tube, and both the tube and the bottle feature this shodo, this calligraphy of the Karuizawa pot still. Let's check out the colour. Very inviting, very bright, somewhere between a deep gold and a deep copper. On the nose. Well, it's definitely a young whiskey. It's very fresh, very nutty, very grassy. There's some fruit. I'm getting some pear and some plum. And there's a whole load of punch, a journey from peppermint through ginger to licorice to nail polish and then acetone. Behind all that, I'm getting some malt and a little bit of vanilla slice. I'm getting some peatiness as well, but again, not pronounced. Let's see how things change on the palate. Ooh, that has bite. There is a sharpness and edge here which gives away its youth. There's an almost gin mouthfeel to it. I'm definitely getting a bit of juniper. Those fruity notes I was getting on the nose, now a bit more citrus and green apple. That peatiness on the nose I mentioned, more pronounced on the palate. I'm getting a little more vanilla and caramel than I did on the nose, but nowhere near as much as I would typically expect from an ex-bourbon barrel whiskey. Maybe needs a little more barrel time. On the finish, I'm getting lemon, I'm getting ginger, I'm getting black pepper, I'm getting acetone, and I've got time to experience all of this because the finish is medium long, even long. So what's the verdict? Good thickness, decent structure. It's definitely a juvenile whiskey. It tastes pretty spirity, but it's got me excited for the potential of the Shizuoka Distillery, and it's got me excited for Prologue W. But first, we want you in the Kanpai Planet community. Please like, comment on, and share these videos, and spread the Japan drinks love. On to Prologue W. What's in a name? W is for wood-fired. Prologue W is distilled using the world's only wood-fired directly heated pot still, and the coniferous firewood that's used for that heating comes from Shizuoka. Most stills of this type are gas-fired. Nikka's Yoichi Distillery up in Hokkaido has one which is coal-fired. I love the story of the revival of this 200-year technology. Nakamura-san spoke to a friend of his, a baker in Okinawa, who suggested building a kamado and referred him to a pizza shop in Tokyo who had done just that. And they referred him to the kamado maker, and voila! Prologue W uses a mix of Japanese domestic malted barley, both peated and non-peated Scottish malt, and German beer malt. While Prologue K was matured entirely in first fill bourbon casks, Prologue W was matured in first fill bourbon barrels, first fill bourbon quarter casks, and virgin American oak casks. It was released 6 months after Prologue K on the 21st of June 2021. Like Prologue K, it's in a 700ml bottle. There were 5,000 of them released at 8,943 yen after tax. It's bottled at 55.5% ABV, cask strength, it's non-chill filtered and natural colour. And speaking of that colour, let's check it out. Ooh, that's a lovely burnished colour, close to a russet muscat. It's noticeably darker than the Prologue K, and I think that's due to the various casks it's been aged in. Okay, let's go on the nose. Ooh, that is really nice. The first thing that hits you is the sweetness. I'm getting these deep honey, malty, caramel characteristics, which are really delightful. This is lovely, but not overwhelmingly sweet. That's then moving into fruit. I'm getting some orange, some ripe banana. Yep, you've still got the woody and earthy tones there. There's less peat in here than there is in the K. Kanpai. Ooh, This is a different beast to the Prologue K. It's an interesting journey going from sweet to fruit and then to a bit of peat. There's a lot more body than in the K, and this body, this weight, comes from the wood-fired pot still. There's definitely more malt and more vanilla than in the K, and that's manifesting itself as vanilla ice cream, vanilla slice, vanilla cake. There's also this minerality that comes through too. The finish is also long like the Prologue K, and while it lingers, I'm getting this bed of malt on which a ton of flavors are dancing playfully. I'm getting some orange, I'm getting some plum, I'm getting some peat, I'm getting some nail polish. Lovely. So, head to head, I've got to give it to the W. That sweetness, that maltiness is masking some of those adverse new whiskey notes of the K. What about these two as a pair? Well, they certainly make me look forward to future releases from the Shizuoka Distillery. If you were able to pick these up at the RRP of 9,000 yen, then congratulations. But I don't think many bottles of these have actually been opened. But if this review has intrigued you, I'm sorry to tell you that the Prologue K in the aftermarket is going for 10 to 20 times that number. So why is that? Well, I think a big part of it is the K. The Kanapi Distillery is now so fabled and its whiskies so hyped and fetishized that anything with an association to it is gonna go for decent money. Let's take a look at the back here. There's actually no mention of the word Kanapi, but it does talk about a legendary distillery and a pot still with a very elegant neck rising like a phoenix from the ashes. I mean, I'm sold already. All the world's a stage for the Shizuoka Distillery. They are set to become one of Japan's whiskey powerhouses, especially as their grain to glass vision comes to fruition. I cannot wait for the magic of time and aging to transform their distillate into something special. Until next time, Kanpai!